have retired Marine Colonel Larry Kaifesh to speak about the Great Reset and how we can win the battle against the evil globalists. Larry is known to many as a constitutional colonel, and he is passionate about saving our freedom. Please join me in welcoming Colonel Larry Kaifesh.
What an honor it is to be in front of so many outstanding patriots. You look great. Your energy is awesome, and I'm really glad that you came out tonight. I think we're going to have a good night. As you know, I was here probably about a year and a half ago talking about a similar subject, the Great Reset. And that night we focused on what it is and trying to identify what it is and what they're doing. Well, I think we did a pretty good job. And over the last year and a half, 2 years, I think we've done a lot of that. We've talked about it, we've addressed it, we've acknowledged it. In the military, we call that admiring the problem. But we haven't resolved it, and we haven't fought it, and we haven't defeated it. And I've been working a long time, and I wish we could come up with a concise resolution to address this threat. It's big, it's complex, we're going to get into it in a minute. But how can we do it? There's got to be a way. And there is. And that's what tonight we're going to focus on. I flew in from Texas today to be here tonight. Okay? Born here, raised here. I moved shortly after I spoke last time. I ran for office. It didn't go that well. We did well in the primary, not so much the general. I ended up getting fired a couple times after that. I speak honestly. I speak truthfully. And when I started having police cars driving around my neighborhood looking for a right-wing extremist, I said, I need to get to a better fighting hole. Okay? And that's what you do. When you're in a fighting hole and you're not able to do what you need to do to be victorious, you adjust. So I've adjusted. I moved recently, about a year ago, to Texas. I'm in a place called San Jacinto. San Jacinto is the birthplace of Texas. It's where General Santa Anna was defeated by General Sam Houston. The monument is awesome. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's big. It looks just like the Washington Monument, except for one thing. It's 15 feet taller. And that's how they do it in Texas. I got there and I thought, okay, this is Texas. Things are going to be great. And they were. My state rep I looked at, good conservative. I was reported to be. State senator, good conservative. Congressman person, Brian Babb, good conservative. So I'm in a good place. Then a month goes by, and the reason I moved there was because of Attorney General Ken Paxton. Y'all know him? I think he's probably the best in the country. He's sued the Biden administration over 60 times. He's won several. He was kicking butt. And then he gets impeached. In Texas. By Republicans. I'm like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. You all know what that means. I start scratching the surface, trying to find out what's going on. And the state rep, who was considered one of the most conservative in the county, or in the state, not only did he vote to impeach Paxton, the best attorney general in the country, but he was an impeachment manager. I'm like, this dog don't hunt. So I said, these guys need to go. I did a little work with Ken Paxton's office. I did some work with his attorney, who happened to be a Marine. And I looked at a candidate who was running in the district for the state seat in mine. And we got to talking, and she was awesome. Her name is Bianca Gracia. She started a little group called Latinos for Trump. You may have heard of it. So I said, you're exactly what we need. So I've been helping her out considerably, and I've been doing it. The early elections are going right now. Election day is on the 5th. So that's why I came up recently. But just so you know, I mean, Texas is good, but it's got problems. We're in a global war. And there's no place, especially in America, that's safe. And then Abbott, although he's good, you know, he put up the big boundaries, and he took care of Eagle Pass, and he's got the National Guard there. It's about 3 years late, and it's only this much of the border. So we got problems. I like this quote. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can save the world. For indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Okay? I bring that up because I talk to a lot of people, and I'm active, and I see a lot of looks on people's faces. People are a little concerned. People are a little bit overwhelmed. People are a little bit beaten up. Okay? And I get it. But I can't tell you, it is imperative we don't give up. This fight is a brutal fight. This fight is a big fight. But this is a fight that we can win. I'm going to give you a little video real quick here. Laura Abilene talks about the Great Reset. She's going to tee it up. And then we're going to talk about how we beat it. And if you all seen this, just put your hand in the air. If everybody saw it, we won't even play it. It's good, though, if you haven't seen it.
The final goal is to eradicate humanity as we know it. Once you understand the final destination, it becomes much easier to look back and identify the psychological conditioning, the biological tampering, the cultural grooming, and the educational prepping that we have been subjected to for decades in preparation to making us accept a post-human future. It takes a lot of physical and psychological abuse to get an intelligent species like ours to agree to its own extinction. Most, if not all, that has transcended in the last 60 years was designed to get us closer to accepting such a dystopian reality. Whether you care to accept it or not, we live in a hyper-controlled matrix where our perception of reality is meticulously planned, managed, and executed in order to control and steer us in whichever direction they wish. And the direction is a post-human world. For this, they first needed to destabilize, dehumanize, and demoralize humanity through every means possible. The destruction of the nuclear family, children being indoctrinated by the state, abortion, the eradication of God and spirituality from education, life in megacities and away from nature, toxic food, air and water, social media, replacing real human connection and interaction, engineered financial crisis and taxation, endless wars and massive migration, stress, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, constant fear-mongering, moral relativism as the new religion, and I could go on and on about how humanity has been influenced and forced to move away from all the things that give us strength, security, purpose, and meaning. A weak, immoral, disconnected, ignorant, and unhealthy population is an easy target for the next stage, the creation of an entire generation of androgynous beings. Masculinity is under attack psychologically, culturally, and biologically. Women are being replaced in sports, entertainment, and politics by men pretending to be women. And children are being indoctrinated at school to think that gender is a choice. The transgender movement is not a grassroots movement. It comes from the top. It has nothing to do with people's freedom of expression, sexuality, or civil rights. It's an evil psyop with a clear agenda to get us closer to transhumanism by making us question the most fundamental notion of human identity, our gender. If you don't know who you are, if you already identify as a hybrid between a man and a woman, you will be easily convinced to become a hybrid between human and machine. Gender ideology is the 2 + 2 = 5 from George Orwell's 1984 dystopian novel. It's the final test to see whether we will follow the most absurd party line towards our own extinction. But 2 + 2 = 4. And no matter how you choose to dress, call yourself, or change your physique, will not change that. The sad reality, though, is that in the gaslighting process to get us closer to a post-human future, they have mentally and physically harmed an increasing number of children and young people, and it's only getting worse. This must be stopped.
It's an outstanding summary of the enemy and what we're facing. And if they can get we, the American people, to believe in absurdities, they can get us to commit atrocities. And that is the entire intent of all this stuff you see happening. And the good thing about it, what we have on our side and what is so critical, they can only execute their agenda if they lie. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a huge advantage for us, because the truth does come out. The truth will come out. And the truth will come out faster, the more vigorously, the more active we are. This slide, I just thought this one up for fun. Yuval Noah Harari. Does anybody know who he is? Oh yeah, right? Okay. He is the lead advisor to Klaus Schwab, who runs the World Economic Forum. Okay, he is supported by Bill Gates and Obama, and he is a real creepy guy. He's the guy that believes we can hack human beings and we can control not only where the people travel, what they eat, what they say, but what they think. They want to control every single element to include our ability to think freely. This is what we're dealing with. He came out just the other day and he said, if Trump wins, it could be the end of globalism. If Trump wins, it could be the end of globalism. And I agree. Just this last week, BlackRock, JP Morgan, and State Street, these are big asset managers. These are the ones driving the train. We're going to show it in a little bit here. But they all pulled out of the climate change organization. Okay? So, I want you to realize progress is happening. We mustn't give up. We must grow the army. We must continue to fight, and truth is going to set us free. Now, during COVID, remember they said there were people that were unessential, not essential? That term was deliberately used to degrade we the people. Oh, you're not essential. What? You're beautiful Americans. Every one of you are essential. Every single organization that we support is essential. What did they say? Churches, not essential, shut them down. Right? Abortion clinics, not essential, stay out. Right? Folks that are working and making businesses happen, not essential, shut you down. Right? Government employees, essential. I can't emphasize enough. We are essential. We the people are essential. And this is the mindset of them. This is really very generous, because what they don't talk about, not only endless wars, climate change, all that, but they don't talk about the attack on the First Amendment. They talk about the attack on this. They don't talk about the lethality of the jabs. They don't talk a lot about blah, but it's a pretty good picture. You got in the driver's seat, not only all the Democratic Party, but all the rhinos. And there's a lot of them. There's only a handful at multiple levels, from the federal level even to the state level, that are principled enough to fight for right and freedom. Okay, we're in a war, right? I want you all to recognize that. This is a war. I try to simplify everything, but this is a war between patriots, people like us who love God, family, country, and the Constitution, and evil globalist traitors who hate God, family, country, and the Constitution. This is predominantly an information war right now, but there have been tens of thousands that have killed, maybe tens of millions if you think about what happened with the COVID vaccine. If you think about what happened with 9/11. If you think about what happened with the endless wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, now Ukraine. Okay? These lies, although it's false information, false narratives, they have conducted a lot of damage. The good thing about it, though, when you're looking at the enemy, and we talked about this before, but it's the center of gravity. When you're looking at the enemy, you need to find out, what is their center of gravity? But the center of gravity is, what does the enemy need to be victorious and win, and if taken away, will ensure their demise? And the center of gravity for the enemy is their control over the narrative, the control of the propaganda, the control of the lies, okay? The control of the misinformation and disinformation. So that should be reassuring to everyone here. We know what their weakness is. Now we know where to attack. And that is why we must amplify truth, transparency, in everything we say and we do. You look how fearful they are. This is a good sign for we patriots. They are so afraid that they were firing doctors for providing informed consent, which is a legal requirement for the vaccine. I myself got fired for providing informed consent to students and parents regarding the vaccine. If you see also what happened, the shadow banning. Everyone in here, I bet, has been kicked off of social media, censored, shadow banned, attacked. Congratulations, you're doing things right. But that is how afraid they are. They are afraid of the truth. If you look at what just happened in France last week, they snuck in a law that makes it against the law to be criticizing the mRNA vaccine. Think about that. That is evil. Now, Gavin Newsom was trying to do the same thing a few months ago, well, about 6-7 months ago, and he says everybody cannot go against the narrative of the health officials in California. It didn't pass, but he was trying. But this is how desperate they are. And this is how excited and happy we should be, because they know they can't survive the truth, and we know what the truth is. This is just a small little snapshot of the topics over the last several decades that have been lies, propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation. The Kennedy assassination, right? President Trump was supposed to release the records under his watch, but he chose not to. And the reason being, he said, if the information got out, it would cause extreme damage to the country. Because it would expose the level of corruption, the level of the deep state, the CIA. He understood that it would cause huge ramifications. The moon landing, think about that. We just went back after 52 years this week. We put a little lander on. They said, "Oh, well, we lost the technology." Really? Take a look at your phone and look what that looked like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. You're telling me we were unable, and we lost the technology, we couldn't get back to the moon soon? 9/11, I'm sorry to say, because it affected me and many of you here, but my last 20 plus years in the Marine Corps, I was spending every other year in the Middle East because of 9/11. Now that I'm scratching the surface, there's over 3,000 architects and engineers that said there is no way that narrative is true. These are professionals who've looked at every single aspect. There's no way those towers could have come down in the manner they did, in the report they did. There's no way Building 7 could have come down. And, there's a whole website. Does anybody know of it? Architects and engineers? I know we got a couple of them in here. Have you ever seen it, Ken?
I have.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Makes you think.
Yeah. But anyway, you can see, and the biggest one is just most recently the 2020 election. Anytime you brought that up, you were going to be shut down immediately. The vaccines are safe and effective. We talked about that. All right? So this is what we are dealing with. This is a big problem. But the good thing is, the truth is coming out. So what's our mission? And that's what I was trying to do. We've been talking about the problem. We know there's a big threat. We've got to get to work and find out what can we do to win. Well, first and foremost, we need to make sure we know the truth, we get to the truth, and we push it out far and wide. Secondly, we need to take actions in order to make sure that we can attack the enemy, and ultimately beat the enemy. This is a multiple-pronged attack. I think you all know about this, correct? God, family, country, and the Constitution. They're attacking God by closing our churches. They're attacking God by going after Catholics. We had FBI informants going after Catholic citizens. They're attacking God by promoting multiple sexes. We see what they're doing to the family. How do you destroy the family? You go after the most vulnerable part of the family, the children. They're taught CRT. They're taught to hate their country. They're being over-sexualized. There's the transgenderism push. This is all affecting the quality of life for those young people. Not only are they going to have a hard time having a normal relationship moving forward, but they're going to have a hard time having a family. And then we got country. They're attacking us, obviously, through what? They're attacking our history, trying to rewrite our history. They're attacking tearing down our statues, renaming military bases, sports teams, and then the Constitution. We've seen how they've attacked the First Amendment. They have to destroy it. We see how they attacked the Second Amendment. Has anybody seen this slide? No? Good. This is critical. This is probably the best organization chart of the globalist. This is what we are dealing with. All right, I'll just kind of go over the top. At the very top, you got the Bank of International Settlements. Anybody ever heard of it? No? It is the central bank over central banks. The coup that's taking place around us, this global reset, it's mostly financial. Below it are the central banks. These are the policymakers. These are the ones, when you go and look on the World Economic Forum website, you see their goals, their agendas. So these are the people leading the charge. These are the people making the policies. You all heard of the World Economic Forum? You all heard of the Council of Foreign Relations? The Trilateral Commission was the earlier version, kind of morphed into the World Economic Forum. The Club of Rome, Chatham House Rules, the Rockefeller Foundation. These are all the policymakers. The policy distributors who are pushing this evil agenda by the globalists are the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the WHO. Okay, these are all the organizations, to include many NGOs. And then the policy enforcers. These are our national governments. Okay? And the selected scientific authorities, such as the FDA, the CDC, and the NIH. Then you got the policy propagandists. Now this is the critical pieces. These are the fact checkers. This is the mainstream media. These are the folks that are pushing the false information. And then you have the public. The Great Reset is a global agenda for a one world government. We're talking billions of people. If you look at this chart and the graph, it's not drawn to scale. And we need to fix the scale. If you look at these folks, the policymakers, distributors, enforcers, and propagandists, we're probably only talking a few thousand people. Because it's only the leaders in each one of these organizations. Okay? It's not the whole caboodle. Just like our FBI and CIA. It's not the whole organization. It's not the whole agency or department. It's the leadership at top. So we're talking small numbers. But they're covering billions of people. And why is that? Mostly because of this. The information. This is an information war. They know it. They have to control the narrative or they lose. So they're using these folks, the mainstream media, the fact checkers, the social media outlets, all designed to keep we in the dark and to be able to ensure their victory. Okay? So the goal for us, if we can eradicate this, get people smart enough to know where to get truthful information and share truthful information, we can flip the script on this. So we can make the public look like a dog and the rest of the organization look like a tick on the dog, which would be the proper scale. Okay, but that's what we need to do and that's where we need to go. So the reality is, there's many of us. There's only a few of them. They have influence and they have power, but there's only a few. 7. But these are tasks. We're going to go through kind of quickly. I'm going to put them on my website, but I want you to look at them. And what is required is we all need to take a little action, and we need to talk to others to take a little action, and we need them to take a little action. And if we all contribute a little, we can turn the ship around. But the key is to make sure the truth gets out. So first, everyone, stop listening to corporate media. That's absolutely essential. Stop listening to corporate media unless you do it with the intent and the knowledge that it's going to be propaganda. There'll be some truths in there. There's going to be predominantly false information to mislead you and to push their agenda, because the globalists own the media. Okay, they own the media. They control the narrative. There's a reason why you haven't heard one media outlet say anything about the stolen election in 2020. There's a reason you haven't heard one media outlet, corporate media outlet, talk about the jab being not safe or effective. Okay? This is the reason why. If you want to get to the truth, here's the secret. Only listen to those who have been canceled, attacked, or censored. It's the only place you're going to find the truth today. We got to get that out. Next, minimize social media use, okay? We all use it. It's all good. It's good to a degree, but who here has ever looked at a couple posts, that went a little bit longer? Looks like we're here for an hour. Looked at a few more posts. Next thing you know, it's almost 2 hours, and even sometimes maybe longer than that. Has anybody ever done that? Okay. It's not a secret. That's the entire intent of social media. To hook you, addict you, and make you ineffective. It's really hard to get work done if you're spending hours and hours on that. And not only that, it creates a shorter attention span, makes you less effective at learning more complex matters. It's not good. But like a good black glass of wine or a good bottle of wine, a little is great. A lot, not so much. So do it in small doses. Give yourself a block, half an hour, 15 minutes, an hour at the most. But minimize social media, understanding what its intents are. If you can, use cash as much as possible. Okay? The key for their victory is central bank digital currency. And has anybody here gotten an email or a text from your bank saying, oh, you had a withdrawal? Here's the amount, here's the time, yep? Anybody else? They want to control and know what's in every one of your bank accounts. They want to know every single financial transaction you make. They want to know what they can do, to minimize that. So get out of the digital media economics as much as you can. Try to use cash as often as you can. I know it's not feasible to do every day, but try to do it as much as you can. And with the devaluing of the dollar, I don't know if you saw this, but this just happened. The Biden administration has unfrozen, I think it was $300 billion of Russian cash in the central banks in order to give to Ukraine. All right. Now the reason why this is so earth-shattering, this has never been done before. We didn't do this in Vietnam. We didn't do this in Korea. We didn't do this throughout the entire Cold War. But we're doing it now. What's that going to tell the world? The dollar has no credibility. The dollar's value is dropping like a lead balloon. And they're going to start cashing it in. And if that happens, they want the Great Reset. They want to crash the economy. You don't want cash. Make sure you got some gold. Make sure you got some silver. Make sure you got some real estate. Make sure you got some guns, and make sure you got some ammo. Okay? The currency of the future is going to be trust. It's critical to get together with your community, your neighbors, your friends. Know who your banker is. Know who your butcher is. Know who your farmer is. Know that cycle, that circle of trust. Here, I don't have to say this, but this is critical. Get involved at every level. We have a bunch of great, outstanding candidates. Anyone you like, I know you're probably already doing it, help them out. Okay? Help out a local candidate. Vote or support a polling station. Become a precinct chair. Get involved a little bit every day, as much as you can. Next. Has anybody heard of the Declaration of Military Accountability? Okay, it's an effort made by some veterans. And I'll put this all on the website, so you'll be able to get to it at constitutionalkernel.com. but they're holding the military leaders accountable for the unconstitutional mandates of jabbing the military members with an experimental vaccine. It's against the law, it's unconstitutional, nobody can hold accountable. But this is a petition that they put together a few weeks ago. It's awesome. It got a lot of attention. We need to give it more. I think they got 27,000 signatures. I signed it within the first day, but we all need to do it and share it with your friends. Next slide. Denounce every aspect of climate change. Okay? It is a complete lie. It's the number one lie the globalists have to say to push their agenda. The good thing about what we just talked about with BlackRock, with JP Morgan, and State Street, they pulling out, they realize nobody's buying the junk science anymore. That's a good thing. All right? If you want to see some great stuff, you've all seen it. All the scientists that have retired or are principal will tell you it's all garbage. CO2 has nothing to do with the climate. Okay? Term limits. Term limits are essential. Let's face it, we know the longer they're in, the more rotten they are. Look at Biden, look at McConnell, it goes both parties. Look at Pelosi, look at Schumer. These people are, some of the nastiest people in the world, okay? There's a website. Have you all seen it? ustermlimits.com. If you haven't done it, sign the petition. Sign the petition. It's essential. We have to repeal H.R. 5736, the Smith-Mundt Act. Do you all know what that is? Talk to your representatives. Okay, the Smith-Mundt Act is an act that was repealed or modernized back in 2012 by Obama. Okay, the first one was written back in 1948, the Smith-Mundt Act, and it was basically what it did is it gave the United States Department of State media and military the authority to use propaganda on foreign countries. Okay, so it's been happening for a long time. In 2012, it's now legal to use propaganda, misinformation, and lies on we, the American people. Okay? This is the world we are living in, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, demand. Your representative to repeal Section 230 of the Federal Communications Decency Act. Does everybody know what that is? Section 230 basically gives protection to social media outlets so they can't be sued. And the reasoning behind it was because like a newspaper, if they defame you or print something that's libel, they don't do a good job. But they can be sued. They didn't let that happen for social media outlets because they said, well, it's just a bulletin board for the public. These people are not editors or producers. That is no longer the case. They are suppressing our information. They are pushing false information. They are lying, shadow banning. This needs to be repealed. Right now, there's another lawsuit that Ken Paxton from Texas and the Attorney General from Florida just pushed to D.C. And the goal is to the Supreme Court to basically do this, to make social media companies responsible and for them not to have the authority to take down stuff they don't like just because it's not their politics. This is huge. H.R. 112, CBDC, this is basically the Anti-Surveillance Act. Basically not allowing our government to create a central bank digital currency where they can surveil us. Same thing with HR 3722. Senate Bill 887, this bill would amend the Federal Reserve Act to basically prohibit Federal Reserve banks from offering certain products and services directly to an individual or other purposes. Education, obviously, in 1979, the first globalist president was in office, Carter. People don't know that. But half of his staff were members of the Trilateral Commission. He was a globalist. He started the Department of Education. At the time, the United States was number 2 in the world for standardized testing in 1979. Today, after billions and billions of dollars spent on education through the Department of Education, we're at 25. You can go to Chicago, what do you find? Half the schools don't have one student in grade level who can pass grade level tests in math and reading and science. And I just saw it today or yesterday. They want to get rid of the best performing schools in Chicago, the Walter Payton, Lane Tech, because they don't think it's equitable to have schools doing a good job where 80% of those kids are passing with high grades. This is the madness we are living in. Dr. Peter McAuliffe and Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. I've had a chance to talk with both of them. I did a couple interviews with Mary Talley Bowden. She was the doctor down at Houston Methodist who was fired because she did, like a handful of doctors at the time, she was treating patients with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C, D, and zinc. She had 0 casualties. They fired her because she wasn't pushing the jab. Okay? So she is now working with Dr. Peter McCullough, another expert on the subject, with 17,000 other doctors, and they have a website and a petition, and they want every single member candidate who's running for office or is in office to sign it. Right now, they've got several hundred. The candidate I'm working with, she signed it. I know Mark Rice, he signed it. Several of the other candidates, yep, Susan signed it. So this is great, but we need to make sure this gets out far and wide. Talk to your candidates and talk to your representatives. Make sure they get on this and sign it. Withdraw and defund the World Health Organization and the United Nations. I mean, these are direct enemies. Our border is open. You know what the illegal immigrants are coming across with?
Disease.
They got credit cards from the United Nations with thousands of dollars on it so they can get in the country and go wherever they want. And you know where that money came from? Us. Who's the biggest funder of the United Nations? It's we. This is madness, and this is the sad part. They are using our money to facilitate the destruction of our country. Okay? Some people need to go to hell. All right, but they need to be defunded, and they need to be withdrawn from. And then also, we need to halt all childhood vaccines until we figure out what the hell is going on. Does anybody know what the number is right now for a 3-year-old? What's that? I think it's at least 28. Yeah, we're talking. I think by the time they're 8, it's like 70 or 80 shots. It's horrendous. This is unacceptable. All right, and the last thing, we got to vote for President Trump to make it great again. I had the chance to go to Mar-a-Lago 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. The energy was off the charts. He had just been fined by the judge in New York, so he had just come back from New York, and he talked about, he looked a little tired, but he was pumped up. The energy was amazing. The Patriots were great. I think they're all going to get thrown out. They're all garbage. But, I think he's a godsend. I think most of us here agree. I mean, he's the right man at the job. He's done it already. He can do it again. We got to make sure we get him in there. I was looking, how are we going to beat this enemy? We got to come up with a plan. What I'm hoping we do tonight is put a round on deck. Because has anybody else heard of a solution? How do we defeat these evil, traitorous, treasonous globalists? Has anybody heard of a plan? I haven't either. Probably the most important topic out there. We don't have a plan. This is a round on deck. Okay? We're not on target yet, but we're close. We can make adjustments off of it. But that's what this is designed to be. This is designed to get us moving further and closer to getting on target in order to destroy that target. All right? But this is a round on deck. But more importantly, what I want you to do, as I look through, I got a big library, and I went through a bunch of different books, and I'm reading it. I was expecting more. But what I got was simple, and when I read it and looked at it further, I'm like, that's actually a good thing. Because the solution is something we all can do. Alex Jones, The Great Reset. How do we fight back against this darkness? By bringing their plans into light. Shed light on the lies when you see them. Write a letter to the editor. Call up talk radio shows and use your online abilities to make your voices heard. The Gospel of John gives me comfort when he says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. It really is that simple. When we shine the light on the darkness cannot fight back. It can only retreat. Okay, that's one. Does anybody know who Patrick Wood is? This gentleman has been writing about the globalists since the 1970s. I had him on my show a couple times. He's brilliant. I'm like, how in the hell? The book I wrote was, this is his recent book, but I read a book that was written in the 1970s. I said, how in the hell has this remained a secret for so damn long? They suppressed it. They can't let the truth get out. So this stuff has been known since the 70s. Actually, it's been around longer than that, but he was writing extensively since the 1970s on it. But he goes on to say, our silence over the last 40 years has given the evil twins, transhumanism and technocrats, the leeway to spread their propaganda and fulfill their agenda. Now it has reached the point where they are dominating and threatening the entire planet. The only way to take back our rights is to stop being silent. We can do that. Speak up, speak out, speak authoritatively, speak persuasively, speak with fire in your belly. The spark of free speech in America must first become a din and turn into a rumble, then into an uproar. Have faith, because we can do that. This is a book called Save America, written in 2010 by Newt Gingrich. Don't think you are powerless because you have no national audience. Politics is primarily local, and that's where we need to focus in order to win. Persuading one person at a time, one family at a time, and one community at a time, that they have a better solutions than they corrupt. Collective policies now being decreed in Washington. That is how you can contribute to our common cause. Be brave, be a leader, and never stop fighting for what's right. For America together, we will bring about a new generation of freedom. I was asked, so do we need to be worried? And I want to reinstate and reiterate a message. Dr. David Martin, does anybody know who he is? Okay, pretty smart guy, right? He has come out several weeks, maybe a month or two ago, and he said he believes that the globalists are already dead. And what we're seeing now is the last gasp of breath, okay? Because they've been exposed. The information about the vaccine is coming out. The information about the Great Reset is coming out because of smart people like you and the people we talk to. The information about their intentions, it's all public. You can go to the World Economic Forum page and see what they want to do. So, but he believes that they're dead. It's just we're living through the last breath of life. Now the problem is they can still do some damage. And I think, obviously, we're going to pray that Trump gets back in. If Trump gets in, I believe Yuval Harari, the globalist movement is done. And so, be optimistic, but be vigilant, okay? And if we all continue to do a little bit more than we did before and try to get more people involved. I mean, the Founding Fathers were adamant. You know, in order to have the freedoms that we have in America, we needed a population that based their lives on Judeo-Christian values. It was really essential to have the freedoms we have today. Equally important is we also have to have a population that has a semblance of what's going on, an idea of what's going on, and are somewhat active. And I think, I mean, you all are here, you guys are patriots, you know what I'm talking about, but you also know what it's like knocking door to door and talking to people. I don't like politics, I don't even follow it, I don't even want to know about it, right? That's our challenge, because that is tough. For America to survive and prevail, we need people that are informed, and we need people that are a little bit active. And it's tough now because the globalists have deliberately done this. They put so much, we call it muddling the water. They don't want us to know what the truth is. They're going to muddle this, they're going to muddle that, they're going to try to keep us confused, uncertain, and frustrated. But that is why we go to where the truth is. Our friends that are canceled, attacked, and censored. I've been all three. You probably all have been too. Okay. Let me read one more thing, because it was the last one. I was going to shake the house if I can remember it. Okay, here it is. Because this, and then we're going to take some questions. A good solution, okay? The Great Awakening, that's what we got to have instead of the Great Reset. This is as George Orwell once said, by Alex Jones. During times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. Go be revolutionary. All right. Questions, please. Okay.
I probably can project. Two things real quick. Do you feel at all that your life is in danger being a messenger of the truth? And then the other part of the question is, do you think that our military or police would ever shoot on the citizens of the United States if it came down to it?
Okay. Do I feel threatened? I will tell you when I spoke up and I got fired, and I did have police cars driving back and forth. Strangely, had a dog that was growling. I'm like, what are you growling at? I look up, and it's a long driveway, and I look, and there's a cop car parked there. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? So I go to walk out, and he takes off. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt anything. So we do have to be vigilant. We do have to be prepared. We do have to keep our head on a swivel, so to speak. And down in Texas, it's constitutional carry, so you can lock and load all day, every day. All right? I'm kidding. Not really. Now, here's my concern about the second part of the question. These globalists have turned the IRS against us, the DOJ against us, the Department of Education against us. How hard would it be to turn the military against us? And I bring this up because look what they did over the last several years. What did they do? If you did not take the jab, you were kicked out. So they got rid of all the, let's say, people of principle and guts. So now you have a military that are predominantly conformist, compliant, good little listeners. I do not have a lot of respect for the military today because of this. I have good friends with stars on their collar, and I bust their chops. We have a traitor in the White House, and nobody's saying a damn thing. How does that happen? This has been known for a while, but our military is saturated with risk-adverse careerists now more than ever. We don't need that. We need warfighters. That's why I got fired, but that's another story. But, so when you say that, I'm not so sure. I hope and I pray the leaders that gave an oath to the office will do what they're supposed to do. But if they were, why would they leave this traitor in the White House? Why would they let this election be stolen? Why would they let so many people die with an unconstitutional mandate of an experimental vaccine in the military? So I got a problem with that. I don't have confidence 100%, but I will pray that they'll do the right thing if need be. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I want to point out that the lady that fired Larry Kaifesh got fired herself this past summer by Brandon Johnson. So
That's right.
she had a taste of her own medicine. But I wanted to say the World Bank that was on that flow chart.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that the World Bank just had a newly appointed leader by Joe Biden, and he appointed a trilateral commission member. And immediately after he was appointed to the World Bank, he turned around and gave the Clinton Foundation millions of our money. And they have since found that the Clinton Foundation is in South America funding this migrant crisis.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that needs to be on that list is the Clinton Foundation needs to be burned down.
Well, you're exactly right. The Clinton Foundation, the Red Cross, multiple NGOs are facilitating this invasion. Catholic Charities. Think about this. This is madness. Treason. Great point. Thanks for bringing that up, Linda.
Getting back to your point about State Street and BlackRock.
Yes.
I didn't hear that they changed their position on ESG. So the first question is why did they change their position on climate and the ESG thing? And then secondly, what's your what's your take on what happened at the World Economic Forum in Davos? They gave the platform to Milei from Argentina.
Yep.
I mean, he ripped them apart.
Yep.
And the same thing on that panel where Roberts from the Heritage Foundation came out and kind of ripped them apart too. And then I think it was Jamie Dimon right from there started talking about MAGA. So it seems as though there's kind of a change. I mean, even Jamie Dimon coming out and saying that that the world has to start listening to the MAGA people and to us. So, what's your take on what happened? What this last meeting?
I think these are smart people and they see the writing on the wall, and they're trying to get ahead of the story, especially Dimon. He may have some political aspirations. Okay, he sees MAGA's huge. He sees any other thing outside of MAGA. Let's face it. Republican Party is dead. I mean, and it's been dead for a while. We are American first, MAGA, constitutional conservatives. So I believe with Dimon and the others, I think they see the writing on the wall. I think they realize, this ain't going to go out so well. Because when the truth comes out and the people want justice, they're going to want heads on sticks. And they deserve it, okay? And I think they're starting to wake up and realize the kitty's out of the bag and it's not looking pretty. So I think they're jumping ship. I think they're trying to save themselves. It's a little too late, but I think that's what the motivation is behind that. Does that answer the question? Okay? Yes, sir.
I know that there's a lot of dialogue about Trump. And I guess I more than anything want to hear it from you.
Yeah.
How does that man justify the vaccine?
That's a tricky one. Now, here's the thing. Mind you, he was the president of the United States when COVID broke out. Fauci, right, head of NIH, in 2017 predicted we're going to have a pandemic underneath Trump's watch. President Trump is the president of the United States. He's the executive. He was in a predicament where he did not have a lot of options. As an executive, he had the authority to cut the red tape, to speed the process up, and to get the vaccine out, right? Obviously, he was not running it. He did not build the vaccine. He did not, he wasn't part of that process. I also think he was in a predicament where he, no matter what he did, they were gonna execute him. If he didn't push the jab, they were gonna execute him. If he did, and he didn't mandate it. That's the one good thing we can say about it. He never mandated the vaccine. He said he took it. He said it would seem to be okay, but he also tried to push the monoclonal antibodies. That's what he was pushing all along. And then hydroxychloroquine, they called him a crazy man for it. So that is one little hiccup that does concern me a little. My guess, no matter what he did, he couldn't win.
He did the Right to Try Act too before. And
Yeah.
so his idea is to bring whatever medicines.
Well, that was it, right? Yeah, cut the red tape, get this thing out faster. Everybody was wanting this vaccine. They beefed this thing up to be the worst thing in the world. Turned out to be a flu, right?
That's his philosophy.
So, yeah. Do I believe the Chinese are going to take Taiwan? Without a doubt, before Biden leaves. Absolutely. They own this guy. He's going to sit like a puppy and do whatever he's told. I will be interested to see if in the next few days, the next week or two, we see information that our diplomats from Taiwan are no longer there. Okay? So, do I think they will do it? Yes and no. Here's, because when this source gave this information to me, I said, how do we know it's not a false flag pushed by us, our government? I think we're worse. He was 100% sure it was definitely the Chinese. But, I mean, I still have a little bit of doubt. I think if they go after Taiwan, which I think is going to happen, will they do that? Probably. Do I think they're doing it without Biden's knowing? No. I think they're very cozy. I think, we know. What did Biden do? Just so you know, the reason he pulled out of Afghanistan, because the Chinese told them to. All right? Afghanistan is full of precious metals and minerals that we can't get anywhere else in the world, to include lithium, cobalt, and a few others, rare earth metals. We pulled out, and they told them to pull out in that fashion because they wanted to embarrass him. 2 days after we pulled out, you know who was at Bagram Air Base, the biggest air base in Afghanistan? The Chinese. They were living there, they were operating out of there, and they were raping Afghanistan of those precious resources. When gas was up at $7 a gallon, what did he do with the strategic oil reserve? He sold it to China. He drained our strategic oil reserve to give to China. They own him. And then what else did he do? With the spy balloon? I will tell you this, okay? I worked in the Pentagon. I was in the basement of the Pentagon, in a little room shaped like an octagon, glass all the way around. And we were watching certain countries. And the countries we were watching had a tendency to shoot a lot of missiles. One is North Korea, the other is China, okay? But every time we saw something leave their airspace, the glass smoked up, we focused our resources, and we watched everything that was going on. There is no doubt in my mind, we knew immediately when that balloon left their airspace and started moving across the globe. When that poor guy spotted in Montana, we knew all about it. When it left the China airspace, we knew all about it. So this is the world we're living in. We have a traitor in the White House. So, what was the question? I'm sorry. Do I think...
What the probability that China...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I don't think they need to really do it. I think they can do whatever they want. They own him. So if they want to take Taiwan, they're going to do it. They're not going to come after us with a war. Why? They don't need to. They're beating us like a baby right now, right? I mean, they can do whatever they want. The last thing they want to do is get into a military fight with the United States of America. That would not be a good decision. But why do it when you own all the people that are making decisions that affect you? They don't need to. They own us. And this is the sad part. So I worry more about our country taking down our grid than I do the Chinese. Yes, sir. Hey, Mark. How are you?
Hey, good to see you, Larry. Mark Weier-Miller. I drove all the way from Wilmette to come out here. Last Saturday, I was with President Trump with 5,000 people at the Conservative Political Action Conference. There's huge enthusiasm for Trump. But my question for Larry in Illinois, there's so much voter fraud with early voting, mail-in ballots. I thought at one point you were talking about posting the voter rolls and stuff. So is there any hope that we can have honest and fair elections in Illinois, and specifically the Illinois GOP is doing nothing on this? So is there any hope for better elections in Illinois in your opinion?
Let's face it. The only way you're going to get fair elections is if you have one-day voting, paper ballots, no machines, voter ID, and then you count the ballots at the end of the day in public. That's the surest way you're going to get a fair election. We are miles and miles away from that. And this is a state legislator. You know, we've got to handle it at the state level, and it's not being handled. Do I have confidence? I can't say that. I mean, how can we, right? I mean, I do believe there's a good chance Illinois could be red. You know? I mean, obviously Chicago's big, but look at the rest of the state, right? There's a good chance, especially now what's happening with, in our downtown district. So as far as fair elections, I pray there is, but would I put money on it? Hell no. Hell no. Sorry, Mark. Yeah.
Hi. I wanted to know what you thought when the resident puts Trump in jail or when he declares amnesty. What's going to be the response? And amnesty is coming, unless we prevent it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would have to be passed by legislators. Would they do it? They would be. I don't think anybody's got the courage to do that. I mean, it happened before. Right now, I can't see it. I think people are up in arms. We even have Biden now going to the border. They realize, I pooped the bed. I got to unscrew this now and clean the sheets, right? So that's a bad analogy. But even they, realized they got to clean this mess up. And so he's going down there, he's talking about legislation. Obviously, he has the authority through executive orders to just re-implement what Trump was doing. Just re-implement what Trump was doing. You took him down as soon as you got in office. So I don't think they're going to be that crazy, because I think they realize it's the number one issue in almost every single state, not just the border states. It's the number one issue in South Carolina. It's the number one issue in Michigan. I mean, this invasion is terrible. So that's going like that. As far as putting him in jail, I can't see it happening. I mean, you would have a war, a revolutionary war. Second of all, I mean, he's got Secret Service agents with him all, you know. And even before he had Secret Service agents, I talked to folks around him, he was the hardest man to get near because he had other people supporting him. So he's been protected. He's covered. He's a smart guy. He knows there's a mark on his back. If they could kill him, they would. They tried everything else. Nothing's worked. No question about it. If they could pull off an execution, they would try it. This is the world we live in. But I don't see him going to jail. I think he's going to win all these events. I think he's going to win the presidency. I almost think, I think the globalists recognize we've upset too many people. If we push this one this far, you know, it could be what they call a strategic or a victory but tragic loss. It would be the end of them, right? Because people wouldn't tolerate it. So, hope that's. Yes, sir.
What do you make of the idea of Trump making an offer to Kennedy?
I think that would be awesome. To Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy? I mean, I'll tell you what. If you haven't read Robert F. Kennedy's book, The Real Anthony Fauci, highly recommend it. Excellent reading. Obviously, he's got a team of exceptional researchers. It was phenomenal. But he's impressing me. He is, besides Trump, he's the only one that's calling out the globalists. And when people say, who should I vote for, like when we had this Republican primary, I'm like, the greatest threat to America and freedom here and around the world are the globalists. And there's only one candidate talking about taking them out. It's Trump and now Robert F. Kennedy. That takes a level of courage. That takes a level of commitment. That takes a commitment to honesty. All these other politicians, Nikki Haley, never even brought it up. Of course, she's being funded by them. So I personally think that would be an excellent choice. I know Robert F. Kennedy said he would never do it, but I think it would be an awesome choice, and I think it'd be a winning ticket. There's a lot of optimism in the air. There's a deliberate attempt to un-F the mess that's in D.C. Yes. So it's critical that we get patriots that are committed and willing to fight for right and freedom. So I can't say much more, but that's going to happen this weekend. I think it's going to be a good thing, and I think we have a lot to look forward to, but we still have to remain vigilant. Yes, ma'am.
My grandson is graduating in May, and he wants to become a Marine. And I'm keeping my...
Yeah, I've got friends, I've got a nephew.
If that's good to
Yeah, this is my recommendation. I know the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, not as much. The old one I knew better, and I also Millie I knew well, and I also know Austin fairly well. And I will tell you, they're as bad as Biden. Okay, so I would tell this to my family, my friends, and anybody thinking about the military. Not right now. Until you get a new commander-in-chief, until you get a new Secretary of Defense, until you get a new chairman of the Joint Chiefs, stay away. Okay? And God willing, we'll have a new commander-in-chief in short order. We're going to clean house, and then it will be an awesome time to become part of the United States military. Okay?